Lynn Messineo is a dedicated nature and wildlife photographer whose travels and experiences span a fulfilling quarter century.
My photography is centered around nature. I enjoy shooting animals and birds, especially birds. I think it started as a hobby, but then it became more than a hobby. It became sometimes I would call it an obsession. And as other people I knew, but like myself, well, they were obsessed also. So we had a cadre of obsessed people working together. Of course, that feeds on itself, and it becomes more challenging and more interesting. So from that point on, I had done a lot of bird photography, especially in forest photography. So I decided to put together a slide program featuring birds, and I called it Florida for the Birds. That program was my first program. It was successful, and I still give it today.
With works displayed in various galleries and institutions, Lynn has won numerous awards for his unique interpretation of nature, including a coveted Cohote Award for special achievement.
That is an excellent way of learning how well your work is compared to others, because other people are judging you. So photography becomes a way of becoming more adept, more efficient in photographing. I have to say this though, competition is a sort of narrowing of your interests in that you are concentrating pretty much on technology, and you're sort of abiding by certain rules or recommendations, and if you deviate from that, you may not do as well in competition. So you have to keep in mind that competition is one approach to photography, and the other is using your own creative and impressionistic abilities to interpret what you see.
Lynn conducts seminars, lectures, tours, and presentations in the Midwest and Florida. His bird images and stories are described as superb and dramatic portrayals of the avian world, presented with a sense of humor that has audiences chuckling.
And you want to be sure that you take the picture in a way that you have the proper light, you have the proper focus, proper composition. Uh, these are sort of mechanical things. But when you go beyond that and you try to be more creative, to create more interesting pictures, you look at things differently. You look at them in terms of the context of what's in the picture besides what your subject is. And any storytelling features about that photo, telling yourself, what am I trying to photograph? What am I looking at? Am I trying to tell some kind of a story? And that becomes what your emphasis is.
Living in Florida each winter, Lynn has earned the reputation for discovering the most productive venues for bird and scenic photography.
When I approach a site, I have some kind of an idea of what I'm trying to photograph. It may be a mountain scenery, it may be a group of flowers, it may be birds in water, it may be birds in a tree. I'm looking basically for the subject, but at the same time I'm looking at backgrounds. Backgrounds are very important to me. Without an adequate background, I don't feel that I have a worthy subject. So I look for backgrounds, especially with birds. After a while, you become aware of the habits and the activities of birds and animals too. And you know what they're going to do. You can anticipate what they're going to do because of your knowledge and because of your experience. And that gives you an edge, and it gives you an ability to wait for that special moment when something is going to occur. Other than just photographing birds or animals as portraits, you want to see them interacting with their habitat, interacting with their environment, and which creates a more dynamic image. A bird with its wings raised, ready to take off from a nest, or a bird landing with its wings spread out, or a bird taking a bath along the shoreline. These are things that are of interest. Or perhaps a bird eating another animal. That's of interest also. Finding that is a challenge, and that becomes a joy unto itself. And I may walk away from a day's photography and say, I had a great time. I don't know if I have a decent photograph or image, but I had a wonderful time.
Lynn's constant goal is to inspire others with his imagery, stirring their imagination and encouraging them to become more involved in nature.
Eventually, that is after I've completed my life, I'd like it to be known that I was a reasonably good photographer, that I enjoyed nature, that I combined the two in such a way that others might also appreciate nature and photography, but more so the nature aspect. And I feel that photography has allowed me and permitted me to inspire others to not so much to enjoy the photography, but to really appreciate nature and to want to conserve and protect it.